Under the moonlight, the waves lightly caress the southern shores. In the twinkling light, new life struggles to survive in the sea near Kending's Nanwan. Every spring, a moving nighttime ritual of life explodes in the seas of Kending National Park. At this time, coral will release large amounts of spermatozoa and ova into the sea to be fertilized. The sea is immediately filled with countless tiny dots, and the waves spread these minuscule lives to other parts of the sea. The next morning, there will be a vast number of coral eggs floating on the sea surface, dyeing the sea bright red. Coral relies on this sea of eggs strategy to overcome nature's harsh test of survival. The Hengchun Peninsula at the southern tip of Taiwan is a coral reef terrace formed tens of thousands of years ago by upheavals of the Earth's crust. Kending National Park is located on the Hengchun Peninsula, and the most abundant distribution of coral in all of Taiwan is found here. The southern part of the Hengchun Peninsula does not have any large rivers, so there is less chance of the sea being polluted. In the Nanwan coastal area, from Eluanbi to Maobitou, the sea is crystal clear year-round, because silt is not as easily washed away in this coral reef coastal terrain. Coral extend in every direction, and colorful coral reef fish of many different varieties form a brilliant panorama. It is a favorite place for marine researchers and divers. That's right! The water's clear, and the coral's beautiful. The Hengchun Peninsula, with its coral reef coastal terrain, was part of a gradual upheaval that happened 200,000 years ago. Coral is abundant around the whole Hengchun Peninsula. There are approximately 350 species of coral here. There are no rivers, so the water around the Hengchun Peninsula is always very clear. It nurtures one of the most diverse ecological systems in Taiwan. To preserve the marine ecosystem of Taiwan, the government established the Kending National Park headquarters on January 1st, 1984. The sea area of the national park encompasses 1 kilometer out from the coast, from Guishan to Nanwan, and the entire Nanwan coastal area. 4 marine ecosystem reserves were established to better manage and protect the coral reef ecosystem. Soft coral communities grow in the shallow waters for 2 kilometers east and west of Nanwan's Maobitou. They look like slow, elegant dancers, dressed in colorful costumes. The vast, soft coral communities are the habitat for many types of fish. They exist peacefully in the colorful coral forests. On the edges of the soft coral area, we can see unusual-looking potato chip corals. This rare type of coral is smooth and slippery. The potato chip coral area is a wonderful place for observing coral reef fish. Divers who come to this area will find themselves surrounded by schools of damselfish, angelfish, and trumpetfish. Another amazing undersea show is underway somewhere not far away. A school of barracuda circle the diver in an orderly formation, as if they are curious about this strange bubble-making creature. Clownfish play among the sea anemone on one side of the coral. Their bright colors and playful nature make them one of the stars of the coral reef areas. Clownfish and sea anemone are inseparable partners. The clownfish secretes a special sticky fluid that protects it from being stung by the poisonous nematocysts of the sea anemone. When predators come by, the clownfish seeks protection inside the sea anemone. As repayment, the clownfish also cleans out parasites and dead tissue for the sea anemone. Five types of clownfish can be found in the seas around Taiwan. And Kending is the only place where all five types can all be found together. These underwater cliffs, where the current is stronger, are the kinds of places the sea fan type of soft corals like to grow. The area around Nanwan is highly influenced by the tides, and a bidirectional current is formed at high and low tides. This strong current is one of the reasons that the sea fan corals grow so profusely here. Pygmy seahorses slowly twist around in the shoots of the sea fans. These 2-centimeter-long pygmy seahorses mimic the shapes of the sea fans and become one with the coral community in an amazing display of survival intelligence. Are there flowers blooming from the top of the sea fan? Take a closer look, and you can see that there are sea ferns attached to it. Sea ferns survive by catching microorganisms in the current. So they climb on top of the high surfaces of corals or large sea sponges, taking up an advantageous position to catch their food. Many different kinds of marine invertebrates can be found near undersea trench reefs. sea slugs are some of the most beautiful creatures on these reefs. The flower-like organs on their backs are their gills. Sea slugs eat poisonous animals on the coral reefs, like sea sponges and sea anemones. They store the nematocysts in tissue on their backs to form a protective, poisonous skin. The shiny stripes on the blue sea slugs are a warning sign to predators that say, "I am poisonous, don't mess with me." Is that lightning flashing in the cracks between the coral? This light comes from the flame fire shell. The lightning bolt-like light is a reflection of natural light rays from their outer mantle. It gives the coral reef area an extra sense of mystery. Near the jagged coral communities, the bright red sea goldies create a grand scene. Pulled by the swift current, they scatter in the deep blue sea like colorful flower petals. Areas on the west coast of the Hengchun Peninsula, such as Guanshan, Hongchai, Shanhai, and Wanlitong, are less affected by seasonal winds because their east side is screened by tableland. This makes it a good place for diving in the fall and winter. The sea terrain from Guanshan to Wanlitong is mostly made up of craggy interlaced reefs that are close to the shore. Farther out, the coral reef is interspersed with sandy sea bottom. The barren-looking sandy seafloor actually hides a great deal of life. With no place to hide, the creatures that live here must find creative means to keep themselves safe. Stingrays are a predator commonly seen on the sandy floor. Their gray bodies allow them to easily hide on the flat sandy bottom, where they expose only their eyes to monitor their surroundings. There are also sea anemones living on the sandy bottom. Of course, their neighbors, the clownfish, are also present. The brightly colored saddleback Amphiprion polymnus is a rarely seen tropical clownfish, as it can only be found in the area around Kending National Park. Near the anemones are a forest of suspension-feeding Phyrella fragilis that open up their branch-like tentacles to catch plankton in the current, sending the food into their mouths. In all of Taiwan, this peculiar and rare sea cucumber can only be found near Wanlitong and Nanwan. The most fascinating creature on the sandy sea bottom is the left-eye flounders. The left-eye flounders likes to stay flat on the bottom of the sea. Its eyes can migrate over to the same side of its head during its growth in a peculiar adaptation to its environment, making it look like something out of a Picasso painting. The left-eye flounders also has a rare kind of chameleon-like skill. It observes the surrounding environment and changes the color and texture of its body accordingly. It can perfectly mimic any surface, whether it is sandy seafloor or a coral reef. In an adaptation to a sandy environment, some species of coral can actually survive on soft sand. This feather-like sea pen is a type of sea star. Its anthozoa are distributed in the two sides of the quill, forming a web shape which catches plankton in the current. Isolated reefs in the ocean are always the best habitat for sea creatures. So these places on the sandy bottom are a gathering place for many types of creatures. This is an isolated reef at a depth of 20 meters to the west of Shanghai Harbor. Around the isolated reef is a vast expanse of sandy sea bottom. There are countless sea goldies surrounding the isolated reef. All kinds of beautiful butterfishes, common blue-striped snapper, damselfish, and parrotfish freely swim around. To the east of the area around Nanwan is the Taoshi coast, with its jagged, intersecting coral reefs. The water depth here is only about 10 meters. The coral grows very thick here. The Acroporidae is especially impressive, with its interlacing branches, which stretch out over a wide area. Large four-line terrapons can be seen in great numbers in these staghorn coral communities. They float above the corals, and as their scales glisten and shimmer, they seem like clouds passing over the rolling hills of coral. The four-line terrapon is a fish that likes to swim in schools. It is widely distributed in shallow coral reef areas all around Taiwan, but it only appears in such large numbers around Taoshi Coast. The beautiful environment of the Taoshi Coast is under pressure from the recreational activities of the nearby area around Nanwan. To protect this marine ecosystem, the National Park established the Taoshi Coast as a marine ecological model area in 2008, relying on local residents to participate in conservation efforts. Well, the most important aspect of the Taoshi Coast Marine Ecological Model Area are the schools of four-line terrapons. These schools of terrapons feed and spawn here in groups of thousands, and they spawn here from winter to summer. Therefore, it is hoped that the ecological area can be like a fishery bank for Kending National Park, or even for the whole of Hengchun Peninsula. So, the way we look at it is, the bigger the bank gets, and the larger the protected area is, it gives us hope. We have more hope for the sustainable use of resources, and more hope for the future. Here is a school of common blue-striped snapper mixed with blue-banded sea perch, Moluccan snapper, and cardinal fish swimming in the waters off the Taoshi coast. The main markings of the common blue-striped snapper are the 4 blue stripes on their sides. During the day, they like to swim near isolated reefs in schools. They are easily approached by divers since they are not wary of humans. Chuanfan Rock is an important landmark on the coast of Kending. At a nearby isolated reef at a depth of about 16 meters, there is a vast area of sandy sea bottom. This isolated reef has naturally become a place where many marine creatures congregate. With multitudes of butterfishes, parrotfish, damselfish, and surgeonfish swimming around. There is a deep trench between the isolated reefs, and their sides are filled with all kinds of coral. Many large sea fans grow out perpendicularly from the wall. At a depth of 35 meters, we can see some giant Tubastrae micranthus growing in the reef. This coral is blackish green, and its coral skeleton is very hard. It is rarely seen in the seas around Taiwan. The schools of butterfishes near the reef swim by in beautifully ordered fashion. Butterfishes, dragging long dorsal fins, dance beside us like fairies twirling silk scarves. We could lose ourselves here as all kinds of fish appear before us. Dark-banded fusiliers, pennant coralfish, grunts, parrotfish, and banded boarheads. They all merge together and then gradually disappear into the deep blue of the sea. The lives of these fish seem so peaceful and worry-free. Generations ago, the sea area of the Hengchun Peninsula was one of Taiwan's most important fisheries. As technology developed, fishing equipment improved, but that did not mean the catch quantity increased. Some fishermen changed occupations as fishery resources dried up. In addition to ever-increasing aquatic recreational activities, another reason for the drying up of fishery resources was that some fishermen started to use illegal methods to catch fish. Some aggressive predatory fish have been discovered in the coral reef areas. These are large fish that have escaped from fish farms after typhoons. These groupers are endemic to Taiwan, and they may represent an opportunity for the Kending coral reef ecology, which has so far lacked big fish. Coral reef fish are a special feature of the marine resources of Kending. We really want the tourists who come here to enjoy the beauty of the sea and to understand the concept that eating fish uses up resources. However, watching fish allows the resources to be used forever. We tell them that we all have to work together to protect coral reef fish. It's everyone's responsibility. Every creature in the natural world has its own value and significance. They do not exist merely to be placed on the dinner plates of humans. If we can coexist in a more balanced way with the creatures of the sea, we will surely receive much more long-lasting benefits than just the temporary pleasure that comes from a meal.